Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we're back with another video, and this one's going to be a little bit different, at least than the norm that I like to do. For lack of better terms, this is going to be my Final Fantasy rant, I guess we could call it that. I don't really want to consider it a rant. I really just want to talk about my thoughts overall on the Final Fantasy set and what it could potentially lead into the future of Magic, but also like maybe things I feel like that they could improve on. But I'll kind of talk about why I feel like to a certain extent they couldn't really make this set really a fantastic set that really appeals to everybody, and it'll make sense in a moment here. So I'm not going to be doing any fancy editing or anything like that for this video. It's really just going to be me talking, and that's going to be it. I'm not going to be doing anything crazy with this, just because I want it to be, like, true. I don't want it to, like, just be a bunch of random pop-ups and things of that nature. I just really kind of want to give my feelings as a whole to this set. After all, I've been playing Magic for about 10 years, which is not as long as some people, but I've been through a lot of sets and pre-releases and everything like that, and I feel like I can give a pretty good opinion just based off of everything that I've experienced playing Magic. Okay, so let's go and hop in here. So I've got 5 reasons why I'm not a big fan of the Final Fantasy set. So the first one, and this is, I don't want to say the most important one, but it's a huge factor into why a lot of people are not a big fan of this set, and that is the first thing. This set is really, really expensive to buy in terms of sealed product. So as of right now, the MSRP for the booster packs is $6.99, at least US dollars, which is a little bit more than a regular booster pack. But at least as of right now, all those booster packs are going for way more money on the secondary market. I know at least a lot of my local game stores are charging more than just the regular $6.99 a pack. Like right now, I actually looked it up before I got on here, and it could change maybe, but TCG Player right now, if you want to buy a booster pack right now, it's $9 including shipping, and that's TCG Player typically has the best prices around, so we potentially might see a lot of local game stores mark their prices up just because of the market. If the market is where the market's at, some people are going to charge market, some are just going to do MSRP. It really just depends on that specific card show or card shop specifically, which I won't get into that detail specifically, but all the, like, everything's expensive. The booster displays, obviously your commander decks, they're all really expensive, and at least, and I don't have any data to prove this is just my educated guess, is the fact that Wizards of the Coast has to pay for a lot of these what do you want to call it, these IPs and stuff like that, and they're really just passing it down to us, the purchasers, the buyers, the consumers. They're likely just making us pay for that in the long run, but that's just opinion, or what I think could it possibly be. But yeah, this set is just really, really expensive. Okay, so the second thing I have to mention, and this is not necessarily Final Fantasy's fault per se, but I guess it is and isn't, but this set, then this is the second reason, this set really just doesn't have a lot of Magic the Gathering flavor. So I understand it's not, based off in a Magic IP or a Magic world or anything like that. It's Final Fantasy, so it's going to feel like Final Fantasy. But just looking through these spoilers and looking at a lot of cards, and I'm not trying to make it sound like, oh, it's not Magic, like, no, I'm not. But it doesn't really feel like a Magic set, because like regardless of the setting, you can generally get a good feel of like like if you're on a Magic IP, or like heck, even if you're playing Commander with the SpongeBob SquarePants cards, it'll still like feel like Magic. Like the gameplay's Magic, and it feels like traditional Magic gameplay. And this set really doesn't feel like that. I think part of it's because of the themes that they chose with like it's like a super duper heavy equipment theme set. So like, and all these equipments, like equipment is a thing in Magic, but like if you're not playing Commander or like a very specific deck, it just feels like a bunch of nonsense. And we have a bunch of like 3/4s for 4 mana, and it just doesn't really feel like true Magic, because at least we're bringing in all these new players into the game, which are gonna, I feel like, get a bad representation of what Magic actually could be, just because of like all the weird sets or all the weird cards in the set. Some of them do feel like Magic, like you have all your landfall creatures, which feel pretty authentic, I would say, and I think a lot of it just depends on your color pair. Some feel like Magic more than others. It really just depends. But yeah, I just feel like this set doesn't feel like Magic at all when you're actually playing with the cards. And yeah, and that's why I've got it at number 2. All right, my number 3 reason, which this is my personal biggest gripe, as well as likely some of yours, there are too many Commander-only cards in this set. It feels like the entire set was designed with only Commander in mind, with very little thoughts, at least for, Standard and Pioneer, and maybe, even Modern and stuff like that, which Part of that is because this set was originally starting development as it not being standard legal, which obviously making it not standard, pioneer, or modern legal. The original intention was for Legacy, Vintage, and Commander. So, like what was it, the Assassin's Creed set and the Fallout sets, when those came out, and they're really, obviously they weren't standard legal. People that play standard, pioneer, and modern didn't have to worry about the legality of those sets or anything like that. It was just, hey, it's something I really don't have to pay attention to. And then they changed it, obviously, with them being standard legal. Now it's like, okay, well, I have to pay attention to it now. But then largely, at the end of the day, we don't have to, because there's very few actually, like, playable cards in this set for 60 card constructed formats. At least the ones off the top of my head, like, obviously, Vivi Ornithir is amazing. The new Sephiroth is very, very good. Starting Town's pretty okay. There's a couple of good commons and uncommons that are going to be pretty solid just in general. I mean, there's Dark Confidant, which I don't think it'll be that good, at least for Standard and Pioneer. But largely, it's really just a bunch of, like, dual color legends or monocolor legends that really are not that good, or they're strictly worse versions of other cards that aren't even necessarily staples per se. It's just, this card is just strictly worse in every way to this one. And yeah, there's just too many Commander cards in this set. Like, there's Commander decks that come out that have all these Commander only cards, and then you're also leaking all these Commander designs into the regular set, which I can understand it to a certain extent, but it's frustrating when, at least someone who plays Standard and Pioneer, when like a third, at least in this set, it's more than a third, but in a normal set, like a third of the cards are designed with Commander in mind. It's like, don't you guys get Commander decks like every single set that comes out anyways? So why are we spending all this design space just for Commander? And I'm not saying like, oh, this 7-mana card is good in Commander, so it's considered a Commander card. Like, it really just depends on the whole, like, a card can be expensive or pricey to cast and not be a Commander card, and vice versa. So yeah, I'm not necessarily just dogging on Commander per se in this with this specific complaint here, but it's really just, the whole set was just Commander cards. So for those who don't know, I do a top 10 video for cards that are coming out in the new sets. I do it every single set that comes out, and at least with Final Fantasy, I picked like 10 cards that are more aligned with 60 card play, but can also be very good in Commander. And there was probably like 11 cards that I really wanted to talk about in this set in terms of just being a strong card outside of Commander. And yeah, that was really about it. There was like 10, 11 cards that were actually worthy of talking about. So yeah, that's my number 3 reason. There's just too many Commander cards. And this kind of ties into number 3 a little bit. But number 4, there's a lot of non-standard legal Commander cards coming out in this set. So obviously the regular set expansion, the Final Fantasy, has the little diamond, has like the double F. That obviously means that it's in the regular set. So when they announced that the cards were going to be standard legal, obviously they have their Commander decks, which the Commander decks are not going to be standard legal, which has been a norm for a long time. They have their standard releases and then they have their Commander releases. The only thing that I'm frustrated with is, and this is going to kind of tie into the next thing a little bit, why I'm not a big fan of this whole Final Fantasy set, is it makes it confusing for new players. So new players, there's gonna be a lot of people that, heck, you might even just got into the game watching seeing Final Fantasy coming out, and then you've stumbled across this video. So if you're new to the game, welcome to the game. But not everyone's gonna know, like, okay, this Final Fantasy set, I can play this in any format. Eventually you're gonna understand that, like, I can go to my local game store and I can play these cards. And you have your Commander deck because you bought your Commander deck that's already pre-built. You build your standard deck, or you build like your 60 card deck, and you're like, it's all Final Fantasy cards. You're like, okay, I'm gonna go to my local game store because, oh, on Friday night they're playing the standard. It's standard. I don't know, like, I have the newest cards that just came out. I should be good to go. And then you go into the local game store and then you're playing all your Commander only cards that aren't even actually legal and standard, and it can create all these potential issues, which, again, can largely apply to every single set, but this one specifically, bringing in all the new players, is what's going to cause some confusion. And I feel like with all these new players coming into the game, we want their transition, at least getting experience and getting up to date, I guess, if that's the right word. We want that to be as easy as possible, and when we're having the distinct separate things, it's going to make that tougher. Obviously, I'm not saying, like, okay, make it standard legal, and then you keep in your Soul Ring and you keep in everything like that. I think you just need to make it just not. I mean, like, for instance, if you're playing a dual color deck, like I didn't personally look at the Commander deck, so I can't tell you what the colors are or anything like that. It's not something I am interested in at all. at least, you know, as an experienced player that doesn't play a lot of Commander, but there's enough dual lands to where you could make them, you know, you could put a lot of dual lands in a deck like that. There's obviously enough fixing in this set. I mean, heck, there's so many standard sets right now that are, you know, like, you could easily have enough dual lands and enough fixing and everything like that to be able to make it all standard legal. You take out the Soul Ring, whatever, and then you're good to go. And you can have Arcane Signet even still be standard legal if it's not already. It could be. It was at one point. I don't know if it still is now. But yeah, that's my number 4. Is it's just a little bit of confusion for new players, which leads into number 5, which number 5 is this set is not easy for new players to learn. Not at all. This set is super confusing with, like, affinity for birds and all the different equipment things and all the different, like, you pay into it, and then there's all the different modes. Like, new players are not gonna have an easy time with this set. I feel really bad for people that are getting into Magic with this set because they love Final Fantasy and they want to collect the cards and they want to get into the game. I feel really, really bad for them because it's going to be so confusing for them to learn the basics of Magic with Final Fantasy. Like, people should be starting with, like, core sets or Magic Foundations with like a starter kit and stuff like that. But instead, what's going to happen is they're going to go to their local game store, they're going to overpay for a booster box, and then they're going to overpay for a Commander deck or 2 or 10 or all the Commander decks, who knows how many, and I just don't think it's going to work out for them. And it's frustrating, you know, maybe they're going to stop playing the game because it seems too confusing or something like that. Or at the end of the day, they're going to have a misrepresentation of what the game really is about or the core of the game, or just, you know, think that equipments is this major part of the game, and it's, like, really not. It's, like, a very, very small part of, like, Boros, like, archetypes in Limited, that kind of thing. So, I don't know. I just think this set's going to be really frustrating for new players to be able to understand. And overall, those are the 5 reasons why I'm not the biggest fan of Final Fantasy. But I want to be clear. It is still Magic. I'm still going to be talking about a lot of the cards, and some of the cards I am excited for, at least for playing in Standard and Pioneer. It's not that I'm not trying to necessarily be a hater with this or anything like that. Like, oh my god, Commander Crane just hates this set, he's dogging on it, you know, because he's a Magic boomer. It's nothing like that. It's just, I'm just not a personally big fan of the set. My hope is that with Spider-Man being the next Universes Beyond set, they're having more time in terms of knowing that these cards are going to be standard in Pioneer and Modern Legal. So I'm hoping that maybe we get a little bit more, like, playables for Standard, Pioneer, and Modern, the 60 card formats. I'm hoping that that's what happens, just because, again, they have more of a notice that these cards are going to be changing. So who knows? Maybe this set will actually feel like more of a Magic set. I'm not a big fan of Universes Beyond being in Standard Legal, but at least, you know, have optimism, at least for the future, at least what it leads to the new sets. Because you want to know what? Some of the cards are pretty cool in this set, but there's just very few cards that I feel like are actually playable. And overall, I just think it's going to lead to some potential issues in the future. And that's why I want to talk about my 5 reasons why I'm not a big fan of this set. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Are you a huge fan of this set? Do you agree with the things I said? Do you disagree with some of the things I've said? I'm sure you can answer yes to at least one of those things. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. And that's all I've got for you today. So I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching this video, and hope to catch you in the next one.